Hello everyone, how we doing? I thought today that we might go over some moves in the Sword and Hammer, a brief explanation of what a couple of the moves mean, and add a couple of variables so you guys can see a couple of more movements within the Sword and Hammer that have been left out. So basically the Sword and Hammer is the middle of the Te arts, meaning that the bear, if you're familiar with it, the bear is a retreating form, the falling leaf is an advancing form, and the Sword and Hammer is where you start from your neutral stance or your horse stance. So we're kind of in the middle with the Sword and Hammer too. We're pulling the falling leaf on this end, the bear on this end. Sword and Hammer is in the middle. All the forms teach you a lesson. In other words, they give you certain techniques and understanding that when you break it down, how to use it in application and so forth. So today with the Sword and Hammer, let's go through the opening, and the opening is usually you bow and then you come into a horse. Now you don't want to really get into a real wide horse because then you're not going to be able to move. You want to just keep that horse a little bit outside your shoulders where your knees are bent and your back is straight. When you come up in the Sword and Hammer, I'm going to show you guys a little bit different variation today. So when you bow, and this could come one and then up, and then you come back down. So from in here, after you bow, you come into your medium-sized horse. From in here, this hand crosses. From in here, you make a circle, and you come up. And then you hit, and you pull your arms back. So once again, you bow. This comes, see? 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm putting my head down so I can check my horse. In actuality, you always want to keep your eyes straight. But in the beginning stages, you guys might want to look down to make sure that your horse is straight, your knees are bent, your back is straight. Once again, you bow, see, up, hit, and come back. Now, after you do that, you hit and you come back, you're going to go through your basic blocks, which is an upward block, an outward block, an inward block, and a downward block. And then from the downward block, you go into a low downward block. Now, there's a couple of different ways we could do it after we come down. And the way I was taught was through renditions. What do I mean by renditions? When him and I would train, my instructor and I would train, we would do it with a Chinese flow, which is a little bit more circular and flowing. And then we would go what we would call through like a Kempo way, which is a little bit more snappy and offbeat, unorthodox strikes, breaking the circle, arcing, coming in different angles. And then we would go, we'd call it more like a karate type flow, which would be a little bit stiff but still flowing. So today, I thought I would show you a version of the Chinese flow. So the opening, when we're here, is more of a Chinese flow to where we come up and we come back down. Now, once you pull, your upward block stays the same, but your outward block moves. Your inward block moves. Your downward block moves. Now when you're coming into your low downward block, this is where it gets interesting. From in here, what we do is this hand shoots, you come back and block. So from in here, your hands are here, this hand shoots as you come back, this hand comes up. So at the same time, see, and then you block. Now when you punch, you notice I took a step. The reason why we take a step is when we're here, is we're advancing on them. We punch, we angle, then we shuffle in and strike. Every time you punch, it's a good habit to take a step, because that step, what it's teaching you is to close the gap or to close the distance between you and your opponent. So, once again, we're here, right? We're in our downward block position. This hand shoots and we come back. Okay? Then when we punch and we punch, this motion here, what we're doing can be a circular motion, knocking the arms out of the way and then coming in with the strike. Now once again, we're going more with the Chinese rendition. So from in here, when we come back, we block, it's a punch, a circular motion, and then come in and strike. Then it's a punch here, and then from in here comes your 1, 2 motion. Your 2 motions into your crescent defense. The circular motion represents a blocking and a striking and a striking. There's many variations and many different ways how to do it, to where you're blocking openly with the hand and striking, blocking openly with the hand and striking. But for today, we're just going to make it simple. Now this could be one and this could be two coming back. That's another variation off of the crescent defense, coming from your double circle blocking and coming in to when you hit again, you're here, you look, this guy is here, we come in 1, 2, and 3. Now, once again, the Te arts are built upon multiple variations and understandings of every movement that you do. It's just not one way. And to the beginners in the art, you're going to see that everything is really stiff and so forth, and kind of moving like a mechanized machine. But in actuality, it's a very flowing art. It's an art of many different techniques and variations. From one movement comes 1,000. So from in here, after we've done our double circle stretch, we come in a strike, we punch again. Now, that punch again can be vertical, or it could be horizontal punching and then twisting at the end. You twist, twist. Now from in here, see, I'm coming in here. Now when you're coming in here, this leg here, this left foot, I don't know if you can see me, this left foot here is catching a man who's in a horse stance over here. See, he's facing you this way. That's coming inside of his horse, see? So you hit his leg and then you pull it back. That's one variation of it. And you can practice that with your arms behind your back so you can get that motion right, because you're disturbing his horse. In other words, you're breaking his balance. So that half circle coming in and you pull back with your foot is to break his balance by pulling your hip back in the form. Now, after you've done that, after you've broken his balance, well, here comes the block and the hit. See? The block and hit. So you're here, you disturbed his balance, here comes the block and the hit. Now that block and hit could also be a check and hit. So oftentimes when you break his balance, you could just be putting your arm on his shoulder and then striking him to the back of the neck. So from in here, this could be a grab. See, you're grabbing his gi, you're breaking his balance, and then you're blocking and cutting. That's one variation off of the crescent defense. There's many of them. Coming from inside here, once you're here and you come in, this could be a circle and then pop the leg. So you're behind the back of his leg and you're popping his leg, which in sometimes will bring the man down, or he might go like this, lose his balance, and then once again you're blocking and striking, or checking and striking, or moving the elbow out of the way and striking. Now, once you've come into this position here, I'm going to give you guys a couple of variations off this. Once you've come in here and you're in the cat. Now the cat stance in the form is used to throw a kick, but there's variables off that kick, variations off that kick. So once you're in here, he over here may want to sweep your leg. He may try to sweep your cat. So if he tries to sweep your cat, you're in here, you raise your leg up. See, the man is coming in to sweep your leg, and you raise your leg up. And then you come down, block and cut. See, you block and hit him. That's one. The other one from in here is, if you're in that cat, you bring it up, then you kick him, and you block and cut. That's number two. From inside here, if you bring your leg up, you bring it back. You're keeping this as a bumper to keep him away, but he's still coming in, block and cut. That's with your leg back. So those are three variations, but there's kicking and checking and inside hooking to the leg, and side kicks, front kicks to the crotch, front kick to the chin. There's all variables just off of this simple cat stance. Once you've gone through the form and we've done this motion, see, you're here, this is the beginning, come up and hit. Now you're telling your instructor, who's ever watching the form, that you're going with the, the Chinese variation of the sword and hammer. The way most people were taught was from in here, you come up and you just simply hit. Now what that means is from this blocking and striking is to be able to block and to punch. So if the man's throwing a punch, you're blocking and punching, or blocking, punching, and then striking at the same time with the leg. And there's 25 different techniques just from the opening. You have 25 different techniques of the sword and hammer, and there's 31 to 33 sets, wazas or techniques of 3 counts or 4 counts for each waza that's made up of to constitute the sword and hammer. So once again, we're here. As we step back, this motion here is going to strike. This hand is going to be open, and we're going to come down block. We punch, we circle, we come in and we strike. We punch, we circle, we turn, 1, 2, kick, block and cut, block to kick, strike, strike, strike. Now, there's different striking patterns after you do this. There's a strike, a chop to the neck, a hit, strike to the crotch, come over the top, and over. I'm just showing you guys a couple of different variables of what's within the sword and hammer, and then when you're done watching the video, you could go through it in class, you could break it down, and you guys could do the Chinese version, and then you could do the standard 99% version of what everyone else does. The sword and hammer was put together pretty much for you to learn your basic blocks and strikes, different hand motions within the form. If I could do this motion closed, well, heck, now I could do it open. There's techniques within there where you're dropping and you're striking to the crotch. You're on one knee, so now being on one knee, we call that a sacrifice. By being on one knee, now we're coming up from the ground. It's teaching us to come up from the ground, come up, block, and then kick. Because say my hand is injured, say the guy cut my arm, or say my arm is broken, it's showing you to make that circle. See, you're making that circle, clearing that area, and coming in and punching and kicking at the same time. That circle is important. You see? You see that circle, how it's, see? It's teaching you to come up from in here. It's teaching you from when you're inside here to come up and then come down. Well, that's done with one arm. You strike to the chin, you strike to the crotch. So you come up, 1, you come down, 2. You strike to the chin, you strike to the crotch. See? If I only have one arm, or if it's done on this side, well, you see I strike to the chin, I strike to the crotch. Or I could punch to the chin, I could punch to the chin, and then strike to the crotch. So it's teaching you this motion here. It's teaching you from when you come down and you come up, that you're blocking the area if someone's coming at you, and they might throw a punch and a kick. Well, you have to block high, to block low, to come back up high. So 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's teaching you to block low, to come back up high, to block high, to come down low in the form. 1, 1, 2. So you're covering your 2 zones, high and then low. When you're in the form also, there's many different really cool techniques that are done within the form. But the key of it, the whole key to Te is for you to break down the motions, which I'll give you, and then from those motions, you drill them and you make them work. And the only way a technique is going to work is if you drill it and re-drill it and drill it again and re-drill it and drill it again. Just like this technique that I'm showing you before you come with the downward block. See, when you block like this, this is emphasizing that you're blocking a kick. So if you block a kick, you immediately want to come in with the 2 hands, right? Because you're inside, you've blocked this kick, or you've pushed this kick out of the way, and now you're coming in with that double strike because you're inside of his body. So what this is teaching you is, even from this position here, the guy comes up, he pushes your, there's that strike, see? He pushes your shoulder, you move his hand out of the way, this sneaks in, see? Then this sneaks down. This could be also a strike to the inside of the thigh or to his stomach. Then I punch him in the face, then I punch him in the stomach again, boom, and there's the double strike. The reason why we do this is because we're knocking his arms out of the way. We're circling, we're protecting ourselves again, and then we're coming in again. So just don't think that the sword and hammer or any of these forms are just motions that you're going through just to go through. There is a meaning to them, a very significant meaning that we must drill repetitively. We must drill. You have to go through every motion so it makes sense. Yeah, I thought I'd give you guys a little tidbit today since I can't see you live. I hope this helps you, and best of health to you all. Take care. Thank you.